Good morning, awesome saucers. Welcome again to another day in the backyard apiary. So on this beautiful sunny morning, we want to give you a glimpse of the kind of activity that the hives are pushing out early in the morning. So we have a few trees that I know is blooming right now. I have the cat-eye black bead trees, also some people might know it as privet. We had the star apple trees blooming last week. Right now I think most of the coal bush slash coral vine is also blooming, and we have a few other trees that I don't really know their names, but I see a few of them on my way to like the town and stuff like that. The crucial thing is that they're all supered up right now. Spent the entire day, or most of the day yesterday, going through the hives, checking their strengths, giving some of them empty built out worker cell comb, and taking away probably an open brood frame from them, just to slow some of them down. That I saw where they were pushing too strong for me going into the flow, right? But nonetheless, I don't know if you can realize from the video, not every one of them has the deep above it. Did change out quite a bit of the boxes where some of the hives got pretty much 2 shallows on top of it above the queen excluder for the bees to put the surplus honey in. And then I only have about 3 hives that maintain the deep above it, but those deeps having 9 built out comb for them to really store any form of nectar. Alright, well, I think everybody else is really shallows, with the exception of number 7 and 10. Those 2 hives only have 1 shallow. Never went through them yesterday, but more than likely probably next week I'll be giving them the second shallow, just as a precaution, because I know things are coming in right now and I don't want them to think about swarming. But on the topic of swarming, I want to share an experience about what do you do when you go through your hives and see that that colony has now swarm cells and they're planning to swarm on you. So yesterday, after going into number 11 and doing an inspection, I discovered a couple frames that had swarm cells. Why they were swarming, I suspect it's because the colony started getting reduced in terms of space, and they were backfilling and closing down that brood section with all the nectar that they were finding, and that kind of forced the queens and the colony's hand to go into that situation. Granted, they didn't show any sign of bearding, that's one. The second one is they didn't show any sign of extreme and excessive amount of drone brood. So it caught me pretty much off guard. Without inspecting them, I would not have known that they were swarming. From research, you have 2 options to correct this. Option 1 is to create an artificial swarm from your colony that you discover wants to swarm on you, where pretty much you take that queen, you put her into a new box, and you pretty much shake off some bees from that said colony into that new box along with the queen. You can give them a frame of food, and some empty frames. After you shake them off, what you do is leave them to just let them get established. And what will happen is the bees that are left behind with the swarm cells, what will happen is those queens will hatch, fight it out, and whichever one they decide to keep, or whichever one comes out first and kills their sisters, will take over that colony. That is, I feel like, one of the best options that I've tried, and it worked for me. The other option is this. What you need to do is destroy the cells. You put frames, built out comb with worker cells preferably, inside that cluster. So in essence, what you're doing is expanding back the cluster, showing them, or the queen and the colony, that yes, there is space for her to lay, and then adding frames above for them to bring any extra honey that's coming in, or any extra nectar that's coming in. So it's twofold. One, you need to add space in the brood center, and two, you need to add space above the brood center or cluster so that they can put the excess nectar that's coming in. That is the second way research has told me about. I have not tried that yet. So yesterday I tried to implement that situation. I won't know if it works until I give them some time. So what I'll do is I'll show you the preview of going through that hive, the discovery, and the process in terms of doing the second step, or the second way of controlling it. So you'll see the video after this. All right, let's check the first frame to see what's happening. First frame full of nectar, and they have quite a bit of drone cells on it. So I gave them a foundation sheet, which they're building out to some extent. Feels extremely heavy, so that means nectar and a little bit of brood. Yikes. So there's quite a lot of nectar on this frame. Alright, so this is a brood frame. I'll say probably the second one. So second one, third frame, built out nicely, foundation sheet. So this is 4, and I'm seeing where they're actually making queen cells. So the queen is on this, and I'm seeing swarm cells on this frame. She seems slimmed down. Alright, so we caught her now. So we have her in that little clip there. So we're gonna have to shake this frame off, guys, to get a better look at what's happening on it. Alright, so a good look at this, we see they're making swarm cells. They have one on that side. So they say normally when they reach to this stage, it's hard to get them back on the right path. This frame had some swarm cells on it, about 2. So I need to definitely shake the other frames. And I'm not gonna try and move this queen or anything, because I literally don't have any equipment to put her in. So what I'm gonna have to do is just do it the old-fashioned way. Give them a lot of space to work with. There's one. So there's a cell there. You see how they hide that cell, guys? You have to look very carefully whenever you find swarm cells in your hives. And I'm seeing eggs in there now, so she's still laying. They're pretty much using this frame as stores. Wow, stores as well. I think I might have to put two frames in here for them to work on. All right, so this frame is coming with me. yeah, full of stores and all that. So I'm gonna shake this off and then start organizing the hive back. What we see is that this hive wanted to swarm on us, so we have to do some improvisation here. So normally when you see a hive reach the stage where you see cells in there, it's usually best to kind of move out the queen and put her in a box, but I'm not gonna do that this time. This time I'm gonna try a different method, and it's just simply giving the bees, the queen and all, more space for her to lay. I'm gonna give her 2 frames, and I'm gonna add a shallow on top of it. All right, so definitely this is gonna go in the center here. So hopefully they take to these frames and she'll start back laying effectively, because normally when they reach this stage they potentially stop laying. Next thing here, drop a next one in there. Whenever you're putting in frames in there, it's always good to, well, frames that have already been used, it's always good to kind of just clean them off and not put them in the junk built up on it. You know, it gives you a little bit more free space to work with. Alright, so let's push these over back. Let's drop this back in the hive right here. It's a foundation sheet. I need to actually move this foundation sheet in and not have it at the end here. So I'm gonna put it right here, so that means I can get to working on this. All right. All right, so this is the swarm control method I'm going to use for this hive, where I'm just gonna give them so much space with the hopes that they reconsider doing it. All right. That other frame there is a frame with nectar as well, but I believe it has some drone brood on it, if I remember right. Yes, it does, but we're gonna have to shake it off. Too much nectar is in this hive, and I think that's why they were thinking about swarming. They were kind of getting reduced because of all the stores that they have, so that's why. We're confident that we actually found all the queen cells that developed in this hive. So this was one of the hives that clearly the feed that I gave them, they pretty much stored all of it. So this was one of the hives I wasn't effective with. So whatever they were getting plus whatever I was feeding them, they pretty much started storing it in the lower section here, and that would have caused them to kind of start now backfilling the areas down here that the queen wouldn't get enough space. So they pretty much forced the queen to start thinking about swarming. The thing is, she wouldn't have been able to leave because her wings are clipped. So a hive like this, I'm gonna actually give them back their deep with as a super. All right, so I'm just gonna pretty much now try to figure out the frames I'm gonna put in here. So I'm just gonna go for them, clean them off, and populate up here with it. All right, so what you're looking at right now is just me adding in the frames that will be for honey storage. I'm using just 9 frames up here, and I'm gonna space them adequately, so with the hopes that they can make some fat frames. So yep, there you go. We went the route of just giving them so much space they'll reconsider. I'm trying that out this time because I really don't want to. One, I don't have the equipment to do that because I've been using up the equipment with all of these swarms that I've been moving in, and 2, I kind of just want it to remain as a queen right hive. So I'm trying this method, just give them a lot of space, give them frames above now, so that means any nectar that's coming in will be getting stored up in the top sections, and they'd have room to move it, you know. So this should be all right. I'll continue to monitor it. Next week I'll come back and just pop in and see if they did start making any more cells, and I'll just pretty much do the same thing, remove them and see if I can take out one more of the honey frame out there and give them an empty frame again. So that's what I'm pretty much gonna keep doing until they actually stop. But I feel like what I've done today will delay them so much, because one, they got 2 new frames, and 2, they got the super to move any excess nectar or honey that's coming in up here, instead of kind of putting it all in the bottom section. All right, so based on what I researched and saw and was advised, is that if you want to control swarm or stop them from swarming, when you've actually seen where there's no swarm cells in there, you cannot give them foundation sheets. You have to ensure that you have built out comb with worker cells basically put into the brood cluster. In terms of the space above, you could potentially put foundations up there, but it would be nice if 1 or 2 of the space up there is already built out for them to put the nectar in. So that's the crucial thing to remember. For doing option 2, you need built out comb. If you don't have built out comb to pretty much put in the brood cluster, the best option is to go with number 1, where you create the artificial swarm. That's what I've realized from last year. Last year, when I was trying to control a swarming hive that I had, I never had the built out comb to really put into the cluster. All I had was foundation sheets, and that's what I gave them, and it never stopped them from swarming. Every time I would go back, they didn't even build out the foundation sheet to 100%. They would probably start it, but what the queen needs and what the colony needs to put them outright, prevent them or slow them down or deter them from swarming, is actual space for the queen to immediately start laying into. So this is what I'm trying this time around to see if it will work and see how effective it is. Last year I said didn't have the combs, didn't work out giving them foundation sheet. So we're trying method 2 this time around and see how effective that is. And what we'll do is next week we'll share with you the results, whether it actually deter them from swarming. So that's pretty much the short little video we're going to share with you today, preventing swarms or hindering swarming hive. So as usual guys, thanks for tuning in. Your time was greatly appreciated. Just want to implore you to give the video a like, share with your friends, and hit that subscription and notification bell so you can see when new videos come out. Peace out and enjoy the rest of your weekend and the upcoming week.